Hello, everybody. This is Commander L, leader and founder of the Kingdom Ambassadors, a youth movement dedicated to impacting the world and Africa the Jesus way. This space right here is created to answer all your questions and prepare you for what God is doing in this season. I have a wonderful session prepared for you, and so let's dive right in. I think that the people who will regret the most when we cross over into eternity is not going to be those who failed to accept the Lord. It's going to be those who did. Yes. I think they will regret the most. They will regret the most because they'll be shocked at what they had at their disposal and how much of it they used. There will be no end to the weeping and gnashing that will come from the regret of not achieving as much as you could have. Okay. You know, very often when we talk about these things like this, you are looking at doing more. Right? So say we have to move from here to Kumasi, and you've walked from here to probably La Paz. And I say something like, you are looking at, then let's walk faster and let's move ahead. And God is like, why won't you pick a flight? Yeah, because God is looking at, why won't you use the things I've given you that are beyond your human ability to achieve greater results, rather than relying on something that every ordinary man has to rely on. Imagine reaching the kingdom, right? I think I can even teach a sermon called Imagine. Yeah. Imagine reaching the kingdom and finding out that it was true that you only became what you said. Yeah, imagine reaching the kingdom and finding out that it's true, it was true, that it was what you said that you became. You understand the price of every word you said. You hurt from why you didn't talk more. And you hurt even more from why you talked wrong. Imagine getting to the kingdom to find out that, like, when you speak, it actually shapes matter. And that you could have spoken yourself into parliament. You could have spoken yourself into presidency. You could have spoken yourself into any office in existence. Nothing was above the power of words. Chief, you find out something like that, you realize that most of your worry, your prayer topics, everything, none of it was even reaching God. Because He had already given you the solution to the things you were asking. You realize that your lack of knowledge made your 70 years or 60 years a complete waste of time on earth. You were a waster of resources. Like, that's what you find out. Imagine reaching heaven and finding out that the same power that molded the earth, expanded the universe, was compressed and put in you. Like, you're finding out. And you came to earth, received that power, and went back to heaven, and you never even scratched it. You preserved it as it was, and you took it back, and you struggled on it. Just imagine that. Easy.
Wow.
Yeah. I would have said, imagine all what I'm saying is true, but the scary thing is that it is.
Hey.
It is true. Easy. It's true. It's true. So, so much I would say is, so much is wrong. So much is wrong not per se with us, but it's with our attitude. Like imagine me saying, there's nothing wrong with the car. There's everything wrong with the way you are driving it. Like it's a very powerful car. It's how you are driving that's making it uncomfortable. That's making it some way. So there's nothing wrong with us as people, but it's everything wrong with our attitude. The way that we are running things, the way that we are processing things, the way that we are doing things. It's everything wrong with that. Especially saints in the light. Yeah. this we are talking about counterculture. Right. And there's a lot of thinking that needs to be done and a lot of meditation because we are stuck as a people. Or should I say, many people are stuck as a people. Many people are stuck. We've not sat down to critically think about the fact that every kind of advancement we have today is because somebody was willing to give up on what was there. We are wearing shirts that make our movement, mobility more efficient because someone was willing to give up on our traditional way of wrapping the cloth. They didn't say sewing is stress. They didn't say cutting the fabric is a waste of the person who weaved the fabric's time. We looked at more innovative ways to advance, and it meant giving up on some of the old ways. It's the hard truth, but it's hard for us to accept. See how hard it is for people to even let go of old dresses. Worn out, tattered. You can feel it that where I am now, I shouldn't be wearing this. But you can't just also give up on the dress. Do you see? So there is just this training that we've received since childhood to be imprisoned by the culture, to be imprisoned by the way of doing things, that we cannot practically look at how to improve anything at all that is given us. So the few who dare to do so now look like stars. The few who dare to say, let me change the tonation of my voice. Let me try and do something that sounds like a different genre of music. Then suddenly they're like, hey, have you heard this style of music? The few people who try to break out of the norm suddenly become like the superheroes of our time. But the question is that how it should be? Is that what it actually should be? My answer is no. Here's my opening phrase if I were giving a speech. I'll say, the fact that it's a culture doesn't mean it's a rule. The fact that it's a culture doesn't mean it's a rule. It may be culture, but it may not be a rule. For example, it may be a culture of students to go to class early. And it may be a rule that if you come late, there will be consequences. Another example, it may be a culture that we go to church on Sundays, but it is not a rule. Not going or having your church service on a different day apart from a Sunday, you've not broken any spiritual rule. You've just broken the culture. Felix, one day I was playing basketball with a few people. Everybody was shooting like they're shooting. Then somebody came and held the ball this way and threw it nicely into the net. And I said, that's a cheat. If we're all throwing the ball like that, wouldn't we all be scoring? Shoot again. Then my brother and those who play basketball around said, he's actually not breaking the rules. You're actually allowed to. I said, that's a cheat. No, here is the thing. Normally, you've been stuck doing things a certain way for a long time. That you've lied to yourself, it's the rule. So even when the Spirit of God within you is prompting you to just step out of it into a broader horizon, it's like the fact that is the culture is resisting you. You can't. This is your background. This, that, is you can't. I was speaking to a young guy, and we're talking about accommodation. And then I passed the comment that, oh, so Charlie, this thing, I think we should really, really start looking for a land. His face changed because I mentioned the word land. Why? Because the culture, he's lived his whole life in a rented apartment. Everybody in his family rents an apartment. Everybody within his circle rents an apartment. So when I mentioned the thing about building, and it's like his whole system rejected the idea. His mind told him impossible. Meanwhile, there was no rule that said it was impossible. Like the story that's told of a man who found an egg, and he had a hen coop, so he just went to put the egg inside. Over time, all the eggs hatched. That one too hatched, and a black hen came out of it. They were growing. And every day, this black hen was feeling like, why are we always walking around? Why are we always using our beak to peck the ground, searching for earthworms? We can do something bigger. We can do something wilder. We can achieve more. Why aren't we even trying to fly? Why aren't we trying? And every time he said, it's a story, just to bring a moral. Every time he brought these ideas, it's like the other hens are like, you go. You are the one who is wise. You are wiser than the people who gave birth to us, so you go. He kept on having these wild dreams. His heart was burning. Then one day, of a distance, he just saw those were some people that look like us. They are flying. So he shouted, it is possible. Before they could say Jack, he just ran and poof, flap, bam. He just took off. Only to get closer and said, to realize that they all look like him. He said, who are you? He said, we are eagles. Who are you? He said, we are eagles. You see, there are some eagles pecking inside the dust, looking for earthworms together with hens. You are an eagle, but your beak is in the mud. You are looking for an earthworm to eat. You were called to something higher, something big. That is why you are not comfortable where you are. You see, the quest in you for something bigger is not fleshliness at all. It's purpose. But most of us, our real enemy is the culture. So to do well, we have to go counter the culture. Yeah.
Yes.
Ella, the world is changing, whether we like it or not. And, you know, there were major seasons of change in history.
Yes,
The agricultural age came. People realized that, Charlie, instead of going into the forest to go and hunt, and going to the forest to go and look for some coconut or some tree somewhere, we can domesticate planting. Be intentional, be deliberate about it. Put the seeds down, arrange them in neat orders. Let's do this. Then it ushered in the agricultural age. Over time, they realized that the things when we harvest them, they spoil. This, that, we can find ways of preserving this, we can produce this, we can make life more efficient. Then what? The industrial age came. But if you look at the time intervals between all these major changes, it was huge. But you realize that now the intervals between the major changes of society and life is closing. What you may be studying now in preparation for tomorrow will not be effective tomorrow. No, you see, and gone are the days where you say, oh, this thing, by the time it go reach Africa. Now, as it is coming to Africa too. AI up there, AI down here too. Everything is evolving very, very, very fast. So fast that if you are not, we need people who are creative thinkers, critical thinkers, deep thinkers, people who will not be satisfied with a little. Do you know something? Here is how it works. If you are satisfied with a little, you'll be able to meet the needs of people who think little. Let me give a practical example. Say you buy a popcorn machine to do popcorn. And you are saying, oh, this thing, we shouldn't rush these things. They are practical things. People need popcorn to eat by the roadside, by this, by that. So let me just buy a popcorn machine, put it here. I'm sure there'll be people who will be willing to buy. True. That's true. But also, when you critically think, you'll see that you go beyond, let me just put my machine by the roadside, to how can we make this efficient? How can we make this effective? Critically thinking. Wow, I've not really seen anyone do fresh, already packaged popcorn, neat, and distributes to a particular corporate space or something. Now, popcorn is something people like to chew, especially when they are doing repetitive work, monotonous work. Okay, why don't I create a system where I start to educate corporate spaces on the importance of having things, little things like that, chewing. Instead of chewing gum, they can chew popcorn. So we have popcorn at work. Let me do popcorn, already packaged popcorn. And then probably between the hours of, you see, work, first half of work is like between 8, 9 to about 12, 1 before they go for their lunch break. So why don't I supply popcorn for all the workers around probably 11? See, there will be a company that will buy into your idea. And now you are guaranteed. You don't have to stand by the roadside hoping somebody passing by will see your popcorn and feel for it. Now you are on contract basis. You are supplying popcorn for a company. You see, it sounds foolish. That's how the Zoom Lions idea also sounded foolish. That's how Uber also sounded foolish. Tell me any idea that is working now that doesn't sound foolish. That didn't have pros and cons. Tell me, Chief. You are telling me that you want to put me in a car with a driver I've never met in my life. I don't know anywhere. His car. I should sit inside and trust him to take me to my destination. It won't work. Guess what is already happening? The driver too doesn't know me, whether I'm a robber or who. If there were naysayers around, Uber would not be here. Because anyhow you look at it, it doesn't make sense. So you'll be there and be looking at an idea you have conceived. You're looking at the negative aspect. The world is evolving quickly. We need critical thinkers, people who will step on the water before they ask, is it possible? Hey, come on. We want people who can walk on water. They step on the water before they ask, is it possible? That's what we are talking about, counterculture. The world is evolving fast. And here is the thing. First of all, let me address this, by the way. Many believers try and separate their spiritual life from what they call practical life. Then we shouldn't serve a God who rules in the affairs of men. We should serve a God who rules in the affairs of God. We should serve a God who rules in the affairs of the Spirit, but not a God who rules in the affairs of men. Going to work, is it an affair of men? Yes. God said that's why I dominate. Let me summarize this for you and show you a mystery. Yes, Genesis 3:17. Let's go there. Genesis 3:7. Let's go there.
Genesis chapter 3 verse 7.
Yeah.
Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings.
Look at that. The eyes of them both were open. They knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves. That is an affair of man. They found out that there was a problem that needed a solution, and then they brought the solution to it. Find out where God came in.
Verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, "Where are you?"
Now, all of that. Then after that, what did God do? Getting towards the end, hurry up.
Verse 21.
Uh-huh.
Also for Adam and his wife, the Lord God made tunics of skin and clothed them.
Now you tell me, who is more interested in progress? God had already updated the fashion industry in one day. He didn't even wait for 1 month or 1 year. He had already brought an update, an upgrade. From fig leaf straight to leather. Just one day. It's not even 1 day. Probably some 30 minutes that God passed through the scene. Imagine how far the upgrade was from fig leaves to leather. And now you tell me, look at how long it took when God didn't come around again. Look at how long it took when it remained from leather until people started finding ways of yarning materials. The whole Stone Age passed. It was just animal skin people were wearing. Until eventually, before we started trying to weave out yarns and create fabric. Meanwhile, look at how quickly God just jumped. Papa. Like where the Spirit of God is, there is actually progress and creativity. Let me tell you this. He says that John 10:10, the thief cometh not but for to steal, kill, and destroy. I am come that you might have life, and that you have it more abundantly. The dominant sign of life is what? Movement, locomotion. Now, from layman terms, when something tragic happens, what is the first thing we use to indicate whether the person is alive or not? Whether they are moving or not. When somebody is lying there without moving, the first question you ask is that, is she dead? Because when life is absent, things remain how they are. When there isn't life somewhere, there isn't movement, there isn't progress. Things remain just as they are and rather start to even deteriorate. So where there is a life, the utmost sign of it is a spirit of creativity. Now, I'm speaking to you by the Spirit of God. Creativity is dominant where there is life. Yeah. Creativity is dominant where there is life. It will never have crossed your mind that one of the things that will show that God is somewhere is creativity. Ella, it will shock you that God left the pews a long time ago. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When Paul wrote to the Thessalonians, you know what he said? Listen, find it for me where he said that to fill up what is lacking in your faith. Find it for me. He wrote to the Thessalonians, he said, something to fill up what is lacking in your faith.
1 Thessalonians 3:10.
1 Thessalonians 3:10. What does it say?
Night and day we pray most earnestly that we may see you again and supply.
No. Relax. Take it slow. He said, night and day we pray earnestly. What are we praying for? So that we can come and see you. Why? Because every believer is like a building. We are being built up. Something is being added to something every day. You can be a nice building, nice, beautiful windows, but no roof. That's why the fact that your Christianity is working without speaking in tongues doesn't mean it should be like that. Because there can be what is lacking in your faith. You can find a believer who is all around, zealous, on fire, everything, but he's lacking in the area of giving. Because his faith is built up everywhere also. But when it comes to giving, he treats it logical. So you realize that he's not breaking in terms of finances in a supernatural way. You can find a believer who is giving a lot, but he's lacking in the area of strategy and hard work. So yes, he's giving a lot and opportunities open, but they don't last. They don't bring a lot of fruit. So Paul wants to come and look into their faith. He wants to come around and say, okay, now if I'm with you, I can see the areas that are lacking. Because we are being built up. Now, the spirit of creativity is one thing that is lacking so much. And you'll be surprised. It will shock you. When you know God's fruits, you know Him.
Okay.
So somebody who walks in creativity will know God more than somebody who is a believer but is not creative. You won't understand what I'm saying until you meet God. Because the day that the guy who allows himself to be creative just gets a little hold on God, you will see that boom, they just open you up into a new realm of God. Who are the revivalists? Who are the Pentecostals? Who are the missionaries? Who are the God's generals that we celebrate today in Christianity? They are the people who said that we are going counterculture. They are the people who said that in studying we realized that there was something called healing in the Bible, but we don't see it in our time. So God, we want it. Creativity is not mixing colors. Creativity is simply a desire to bring something that wasn't there. To create. Creativity is your creative ability. How much you can create. You look around, you identify and create. You see, what's the head and tail of all I'm saying? The head and tail of all I'm saying is that we are in a system, right? But the world is evolving quickly. And church, faith, all these matters, we cannot separate them from life. You get it? We cannot separate them from life. You cannot be a very zealous believer and usher in church and everything, but when you go to the corporate space, there is no effect, and you cannot affect, and you cannot infect the place in any way. It doesn't make any sense. Then what you have is not authentic. Then what you have is not powerful. Then what you have is not legitimate. So here is it. You don't separate your faith from your work. Now, do you have to adapt your breathing depending on where you go? When you're at home, you breathe differently from when you go to work because I'm in the corporate space. So your faith is as much a part of you as your breathing is. Romans 1, it says that for the just shall live by faith. As it is written, the just shall live by faith. So it is the way we live, it's our livelihood, our faith. I talk this way because of my faith. I smile because of my faith. I dress the way I do because of my faith. Chief, I love people the way I do because of my faith. I work hard the way I do because of my faith. I'm passionate about young people because of my faith. I share food because of my faith. I do all the things I do because of my faith. My faith is not an entity on its own. It's revealed in my life. My family is the way it is because of my faith. I handle my money the way I do because of my faith. My faith teaches me to manage, so I do. My faith told me a powerful story of a young boy, Joseph, who was given the fate of the whole world in his hands because he was going to solve a global problem. And what was the problem? When you have a lot of things, keep some, because the time is coming, nothing will be there. Then you can use the leftover from the abundance. That was all. So I keep it. My faith teaches me so much that I should work hard with my hands so that I can help those in need. I want to prosper so that I'll never see somebody in need of help and I'll say one day. No. The one day story is over. So I live out my faith. Now here is the thing, Judah. That is not per se what we were taught. We were taught to express our faith by coming to church. Church is the training ground. But there was a time where, and that season, it was needed for that season. But our time is time for us to evolve. It's time for us to change the wine and even the wineskin. That's why I'm saying we must go counterculture. If we want to continue to remain relevant, do you know that? Mercy. God, I can't even say the statement that way. But do you know that the idea, because I can't say God, but the idea of God and his ways has lost its relevance in certain countries. Tell me which country had more cathedrals than Europe? Today, some of those same properties have been sold as nightclubs.
Mercy.
Where are all the churches Paul planted in India? Most of believers don't understand that a stronghold, a place where you build as church can lose its grounds and its territory completely, that they will say a church used to be here.
Mercy.
That in this village there used to be a pastor.
Mercy.
You don't know. If we keep handling the faith the way we do, it will die in our hands. Oh yes. So we, the army of this generation, we must rise, counter the church culture, not the church rules, the church culture. Because there are a lot of culture in the church that are not necessarily the rules. It's just the way it was structured because it worked at that time. We just have to restructure and say, this is what works now. And so we'll restore balance to our generation. Come on, listen. Paul told Timothy, he talked about, he said the church of God. The church, which is the harbinger of truth, which is the pillar and foundation of truth. That means when the church is absent, life becomes a lie. So the teachings and what we offer is needed. Counterculture, or else we'll be stuck. Evidence of absence of life is that there is no movement. If phones have been upgraded, if schools have been upgraded, if transportation has been upgraded, then what of the author of life itself? Even nature is evolving. In him we live and move and have our being. God is moving. In him we live and move. Do you understand that?
Yes,
Even God is saying that he found fault with the old covenant, so he brought a new. So God is even assessing and say that this no longer works for this time. So let's bring something new. Behold, I do a new thing. God has said that several times. Charlie, people of God. Then we owe it to our generation to start thinking out of the box.
Yes.
This is why I end for this session. God bless you for joining in. And we want to do something special now, which is that we want to give people the opportunity to also partner and support this ministry, because some people actually texted me on it that we don't see anything with regards to partnership in giving, and that we want to be. So if you want to support us, partner with us and give to us, then kindly you can send your partnership to the details that will be shown on the screen now. Just feel free, pray over your seeds and then send it. God bless you and have a wonderful day. What a wonderful session right there. I know you were blessed, but I don't want you to keep this blessing to yourself. Please do well to share the link to others. Anyone at all that you think this session will be a blessing to, please feel free to share the link to them. Don't forget to also turn on your notifications and subscribe to this channel. God bless you and see you.
Follow the Kingdom Ambassadors on Instagram and TikTok at The Ambassadors. Get access to life-transforming sermons on Telegram at Commander L Official. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Ambassadors with a Z. If you're looking to update your playlist with some great Christian music, you can join any of these Telegram channels: KA Music Box, Gospel Groove, and Spirit Tunes. Access all the mentioned handles and channels by scanning this QR code. Stay blessed.